So first thing, you're gonna notice a severe lack of Danielle Quinto, and the reason why is because, well, she's not here. Um, she's not here, unfortunately. Um, so that's that. That's number one. Number two, we're recording in our little creator space in my parents' house, um, on the second floor, and of course, today is also the day that roofers are fixing the roof. So I'm gonna do my best in the like audio engineering to fix and kind of get rid of all of that like banging and thumping or whatever. Yeah, I don't know if you could hear that. If you can't hear that right now, I did my job. Uh, um, so sorry if you hear that kind of peak once in a while. Nobody's, no one's trying to bang on our door or trying to break in. Don't worry about it. But
nothing's happening.
Nothing's happening right now.
Appropriate.
So that's number two. Number three. Nah, I don't think there's a number three. I think that was it.
I do want to preface though, like, I guess for the podcast, like I know we talked. Our theme for season 2 is everyday life navigated, and
one cup at a time.
And we did talk about this yesterday, me and Zeke, that I feel I'm not like a person in a huge position to give advice. We're not trying to be like a self-help column. We're just trying to like put something out there for you guys to, take away from it. And this is just our how we see things at the moment, our best outlook on it. It's just our opinion, and if you don't agree with it, then it's okay. We're just trying to navigate it ourselves, and we don't have like direct answers, but we're gonna try our best. And yeah, so that being said, for this episode, I think we wanted to focus more on the on how people go about their days on the daily, because I think doing that better allows people to reach their goals in life. So I guess to start off, like, what do you have a routine? How's your routine looking like?
How's my routine looking like?
Yeah. What do you? Well, yeah. Or like, what's your like? What would be the perfect routine for you on like a daily work day?
Perfect routine for me. On like on a regular work day, you said? Well, it kind of depends because I work from home. Like 50% of the time, the other half I'm like out doing field visits.
That's pretty awesome though. That's a luxury.
Yeah, it's really great. But so on a day when I'm working from home, let's say like Mondays, and I try my best Fridays to like work from home exclusively. So I'll wake up like 8:30, have coffee. Have coffee. And then I'll start up on catching up on emails and everything for work. I usually just work kind of straight until like 1 or 2, depending on if Danny's free or something like that. I'll go during like my lunch break or whatever, pick her up, bring her here, because there's like maybe one day we'll do like a YouTube video where we do like house tours. I don't know. That'd be funny, right? We don't even own our own homes, and we do like a vlog of just like our rooms. Anyways, so that way you can get a better idea of the space. But there's a lot of space here at my parents' house, so she basically kind of gets to use like this room when we're not recording here. So yeah, she's here doing her work, and I just go back doing my work. Spend some time catching up on some stuff, and then make lunch. Is pretty, I don't know, it's a pretty boring like at home routine. I'm trying to think if there's anything like super unique. Well, like I'll call it like at like 4 or 5, and depending on like how much stuff I have to do in the day, it also kind of like helps me gauge what time I end up having to leave to do like errands and other things like that. So sometimes I'll leave at like 4 or 5, 6, whatever. Other times it's like in the middle of the day, a bunch of things come up and it's just like, oh man. So the luxury that I get is that, I don't have to like clock in and clock out on my computer or anything like that. I got to do my work. I got to make sure I'm hitting the 40 hours a week. But if something comes up in the middle of the day, if there's a doctor's appointment or something, like I have the luxury of being able to stop what I'm doing, go do that, and then come back to everything. So, um, that's like the big benefit there,
Yeah,
the
it
big
is
perk.
awesome. That's awesome.
But so there are days where I'm definitely like, it's like 1 or 2, and then it's like I don't come back to like 6 or 7. But then that means it's gonna be a late night. I just mentally prepare myself for that. Other times where it's just like right off in the morning, I go out and I'm doing all this stuff. Then I come back, and then like the rest of the day I'm home working on everything. Now, if it's a site visit, it depends on where I'm going. So if it's in New Jersey, usually I schedule these things for 10 in the morning. So if it's in Jersey, farthest I've ever driven really is like an hour and a half. Yeah, I'll just wake up on time, make coffee, then just drive down. It is what it do my visit, come back home, eat lunch, and then I just like do a couple work things, and then I go out. Like my day is kind of done. Um, when it's in New York, now that's freaking interesting because
Because you got to plan out all
I
that.
have to wake up so early to
Mhm.
go to the city when I
You
have
can
city
go
visits.
anytime though.
Hmm?
You can go like anytime,
I can
right?
schedule the visit for any time of the day that the customer's okay with.
But you prefer it.
I prefer it starting at 10 in the morning
Yeah.
because I don't know, it's weird. I used to hate going to the city. I'm pretty sure I've mentioned this before. I used to hate going to the city, but because of work, I've grown like this significant, like this strange kind of like place in my heart, like this love for the hustle and bustle of it. And I'm just kind of like, like part of me is just like, who are you? And the other half is just like, I'm freaking me. Like, I'm this is good. I love this. Um, so I'll schedule it for 10. I wake up at like 6, get ready, go out. I don't make coffee. There's a reason why. I drive from where we are, Central Jersey. I drive from Central Jersey to Jersey City. I take the PATH train up to wherever I need to in the city, and then from there I'll either walk, or if it's like super far or like weather conditions are like really bad, I'll take an Uber or something. Like if it's raining, I don't like carrying a lot of stuff. I really only carry like my tablet with me when I'm in the city. So I don't know, the idea of carrying an umbrella. I've lost so many umbrellas in my
Right?
life so far, and I hate carrying umbrellas in public. I'd rather just wear a raincoat. But walking to a site 20 minutes in New York City in the rain with no umbrella is pretty crappy.
Yeah. Even with a jacket?
Yeah, because it's like you still get in the face. It's not zipped up all the way. It still comes in. I don't know. It's just really crappy.
But you finished all this stuff by like what? Like 2 5?
It depends on where I go for the site visit. Some site visits they're like super short.
Mm.
Other site visits like they're longer. Other ones it's like maybe I'll finish a little earlier, but I'll stop somewhere before I come back to New Jersey. I'll stop somewhere nearby and then kind of just like collect the information, organize all my information, and basically make sure everything's like divvied out. Like if I have to follow up and like request more like additional information that wasn't able to get gathered and stuff like that while I was there, I kind of like make sure I organize that then, because doing it days later, you tend to forget a lot of what you immediately like what you just saw. So that all kind of like is part of it, where it's just like I don't know, I just do my best, especially now. My goal for 2020 was just like I wanted to take even more, like I wanted to take more time, take and go slower when like doing these kind of visits, because it's just like the idea of like getting home soon and like by lunchtime and everything is cool and all, but at the same time it's just like I don't like for me it's just kind of like um I don't know. Sometimes I feel like, oh, I did my job really well. Other times I'm like, I did a good job. Not a great job, a good job. So I try and take my time there. But anyways,
You consider yourself like a morning person or like night person?
that's an excellent question. I consider myself a morning person when I don't have to wake up earlier than 8 a.m. So if you're talking like early morning
Mm.
before 8, nah,
Mm.
not at all. Anytime like 8 a.m. is the earliest I'll wake up. I don't mind. I've been waking up like on my own at like 8:30 recently, like the last few weeks. So I've been feeling great about that. Um, but I'm still a night owl. Like I'm still totally down to stay up till 3 or 4. I can easily do it, even though I wake up at like 8:30 now. So there are a couple nights here or there where I've gone to bed at like 3 or 4. Daylight savings, I went to bed at freaking like 4:30 because I was like working on the editing stuff or whatever, and I was just like, man, this is nuts. So daylight savings was a rip.
Generally, you're more of a morning person.
Yeah, yeah, especially now. Like I'll say like as of 2020, I'm more of a morning person.
Okay.
Plan to keep on that. But yeah, no, after city visits, wake up super early. When I finally get to the city, I'll usually find a coffee shop nearby. I mean, it's New York City, there's so many places. I'll usually find somewhere nearby, and when I do, I'm just there. Like I usually so my visits start at 10. I'm like nearby, so I'm saying 5-10 minutes away from the site, walking distance. And so I'm at a coffee shop by like 8:45, 9. So I'm just chilling out for like an hour plus sometimes. And so I'm just preparing, and then after that I'm just having coffee and chilling out. Site visit, after I'm done, come back home, usually, get lunch at home, and then like I said, do a couple things and I'm done. A couple more work things and then I'm done. But yeah, I mean, generally, like those are my weekdays. Depends on 3 different types of days. Depends on, well, I guess 4. Depends on like what's going on, what the plans are, or if some stuff comes up sometimes, like just has to get done like right now, or it's just like, oh crap, like I have the energy, I'll do it now. But I kind of wish I had more of a routine, like more of a set routine. But unfortunately not.
Well, I think it's
What about you? What's your day-to-day, I guess, like when you work and then when you don't work?
Well, I do like the idea of like, because I took like I have this picture saved from like tips on how to design a daily routine, but I guess we'll get to that eventually. As far as my routine goes, I think what I love about these topics is that like I'm trying to figure out for myself, and having these topics gives me a reason to look up these like routines, because I don't have a set routine. I think as far as my habits go, what usually happens is I wish I had the luxury of like being able to work at home, but like I work at a coffee shop where he puts me on like whenever.
He puts you on so much. If you're listening, Jeff's boss, you gotta give the man a break. I see schedule and I'm like, dang.
But I generally I know we always finish our shift at 7 p.m. because the store closes at 7 p.m. So either I'm working 11 to 7 or 2 to 7, or I'm working like 11 to 3 shift. But yeah, on a good day I'll wake up. I would go to the gym for like 40 minutes to an hour. I'll have breakfast. Go to work. Come back, and then what else would I do? I'll eat. I'll pray, and I'll do whatever for the rest of the night. And I don't know. It just feels really like that's my day. Mainly it's work. I feel like it's mainly the whole portion of it's work, and I feel like I can somehow make more time to do other things like work on music and stuff like that. But by the time I get home, I'm like exhausted.
Well, I mean, I have a couple questions about your schedule. So like I said, when I see
that's on a work day though.
Yeah,
on some work days.
When I see your schedule though, I see usually you're starting like either like noon or 2, and then you're on for like, I don't know, anything between 6 to 8 hours.
Yeah. 5 to 8 hours.
5 to 8 hours. So I look at that and I'm kind of like, so I don't know if you know this, but I think you know this. I think I've mentioned this before. I used to work at like a candy factory. I used to work for like a company called PIM Brands, Promotion and Motion Brands. and they did manufacturing and distribution of Welch's fruit snacks.
Oh yeah.
So, when I started working, I guess it was 2017. I wanted to say end of summer, August 2017. When I started working, they had me working weekends, second shift, and that was the worst thing in the
How
world.
long was second shift?
Second shift is so they're 24/7. So first shift is 7 to 3. Second is 3 to 11. 3 p.m. to 11 p.m.
on a weekend.
On a weekend. And then third shift is overnight, 11 p.m. to 7 a.m.
At least you didn't get that one.
I would have much rather preferred the overnight, but other people,
Really?
like there was other people that had it. Yeah, because it would have been like overnight on Saturday, right? And then I would have gone to church Sunday morning, and then once the church was done, I would have gone home, passed out, and I would have woken up, had food, then gone to work again. Like, to me, that would have been so much more manageable. And I actually had the choice of doing the first shift. Originally, I was going to do first shift, 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. But I said no, because the church Danny and I go to is in the morning.
Oh.
And we didn't want to go to, like, there's one that starts at night at like 6 p.m., but it's in Fairlawn. And I'm like, that's so much. That's like, that typically on a regular day isn't far, but like after a weekend of all that, like that's a lot.
Jeez.
So I'm like, man, nah. So I did that. So I was doing that for almost 8 months or something, but that second shift was horrible. And so when I look at your thing and I see 6 days sometimes in a row, and I'm like, 6 days in a row of second shift. I don't care if it's 5 or 8 hours or any whatever. I'm like, damn. Because the reason why is because you got no time to do like anything else. Like, you either got to be you got to wake up really early, or you got to stay up late. And so how do you manage that?
I think as far as lately I'm noticing, or just in general, my creative motor works best at night. I think that goes for several creative people that at night, I guess it kind of like you have less distraction, like nothing really holding you back. I guess that like half asleep me is kind of just more like whatever. So I'm willing to take more risks and just like do. So I think if I'm making a schedule, I would plan around that. That's what I want to plan around. But in order to do that, like you said, I have to stay up later, which means I'll wake up later. So my day would probably have to start, like if I say I went to bed at 1 or 2 or like 12 or 1, I sleep around 7 hours. Like I said, I have to wake up at 8, 9. Yeah. And I like to do the gym thing early. So I like to, I don't like going later, but also from
wait, why not? Why don't you like going to the gym in the morning? Oh, I'm sorry, later, like at night.
I just like getting it out of the way. Like, I like getting it out of the way because, you know, I'm not like fond of going, but like I'll go. I like getting it done in the morning because I don't know, just you know, and then I have the rest of the day to look forward to. Like, if I have it at night, then it's like, I gotta go to the gym now. As opposed to like, I already went to the gym, so I can chill out now. But what I've noticed, I do want to bring this up eventually, is a whole. I looked at also very historical, famous historical people and like popular people and their routines. And it's really cool how they implement these exercise into their routines too. It's surprising how important it is. Like Benjamin Franklin. Like, you wouldn't think he I don't know, he works. Well, actually, let me just go through them now then.
Okay, yeah.
Right. So I think his is one of the most popular ones because he wakes up and he asks himself, what does he want to accomplish today? And he wakes up at 4 a.m. in the morning. And I noticed that a lot of famous, hardworking people wake up at 4 a.m. Apparently, there's like something to that. I mean, it sounds like hell, but like the whole idea of like being awake before everyone else, getting more work done. But then it's like, how much sleep do you get because you do that? I feel like I'd be burnt out.
But they're going to bed at like 9
or 10, yeah. Oh, so he goes to bed at 10. He wakes up at 4. So how much is that? 11,
6
12?
hours.
6 hours?
That's only 6 hours. That's like the
I
bare
need
minimum, though.
7. Yeah.
That's like the bare minimum for health,
But I heard
isn't
like
it?
when you're older, you need less, right?
I thought it was, yeah. I don't know.
Or you do need more.
I thought you needed more.
What is it? So it's like when you're a kid, you need more. Then you less. You like go less, and then you
You need
more
less
when you're-
because like you quote unquote have more energy, isn't it? I don't know. I don't know the science behind that. You see this?
I thought when you're developing,
Would
you
have been good.
But in any case, so he gets 6 hours. Well, that's what he shoots for, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like I guess with these, it's important with these routines. You strive to meet those ends, but you never like you rarely meet those ends.
Mm-hmm.
So he wakes up at 4. He figures out what do I want to accomplish today. He washes, he eats breakfast, and then his work starts from 8 to 12. It's this work thing. Then from 12 to 1 he eats lunch. And then he finishes work at 5. So it's 8 to 5 is his work. Well, it's standard work. And he has dinner, he cleans, he has his conversation, and he reflects on his day. He goes to bed at 10 p.m. Before bed, reflecting on the day is what have I accomplished today. So the whole thing for him has always been like self-improvement.
Yeah.
And that whole like what do I want to accomplish till the end of the day, what have I accomplished? It's good good way of like assessing what you've done in that day. And I noticed that's really cool because you know, the whole idea of reflection, it makes you want to make the most of your day. Because if you have nothing to say at the end of the day, what have I accomplished? You're gonna feel like you haven't done anything. Like I don't know.
Well, how big does the accomplishment need to be in your eyes? Because like
Well, I look at there's another routine here, and I think it kind of ties into what you just asked right now. So Steve Jobs' routine, and it's really simple. It says in the morning, whatever time he wakes up, he evaluates his works and desires, like what he wants, and he looks in the mirror and asks himself, if today were my last day, what would I want? What would I want to do? What I'm about to do today? That's what he asks himself. And if the answer is no for too long, he would know to change something. That's it. So as far as accomplishments go, what do you want to accomplish? I think it's what you want, whatever pushes you to do what you want to do in life. I don't know. It's you know, what do you, if you were to die today, did you do what you want to do? So I think that's a good way to look at it. I mean, it's a bleak way of looking at it, but I think it's a good way because it puts your it puts your how you see life in perspective. I think. Like I'm glad I'm doing the podcast right now. So you know, it's just it's doing stuff like that. It's really important. Yeah. So as far as like a routine I make for my future, I definitely implement like working out or like working around my creative peak, which would be like around in the evening, nighttime.
So do you want do you think it's a good idea to live every day like it's your last? Because that's kind of what that philosophy of what you just said, like that mentality of like it's teeter-tottering on.
Is that on the surface? That's what it should be, right?
That's what it should be, but like there's a lot of, I guess,
there's some days where it's just like you don't.
There's a lot of risk, I guess, as part of that when it comes to like doing crazy stuff or doing risky things, because it's like you know, live life to the fullest, treat every day like your last. You know what I mean? I don't know, because like there are definitely people who take that to like the literal, like the extreme, where it's just like, oh yeah. I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, there's it doesn't have to be the extreme. The way I see it, it's like, you know, you want to tell people you love them while they're still here, right? Give them flowers while they're still alive. You know, tell people you appreciate them while they're here, kind of thing. This is small things too. It's not necessarily work related, but just, you know, you know, I like what Kobe said, what we talked about last time. It's like you want to get every last bit of juice you can get out of this orange kind of thing. That we've been given, and that doesn't necessarily mean go skydiving, every single day, but like if you feel uncomfortable, maybe step out of your comfort zone a little bit, say hi to a random stranger or start a conversation or try a new food or um just take a little risk, not a huge risk. I think that's important. um Doing what you love every day, talking to your family, talking to your loved ones, talking to people close to you, I think that's really important too. Because you don't want to like end up doing the mundane and regretting it. Because I feel like doing the same repetitive thing for extended periods of time, becomes a habit, and you end up regretting it later on in life that you haven't done what you wanted to do. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I
think routines, because eventually you have to. I mean, it's important to have goals and achieve those goals, and the sooner you can, like I think you mentioned this last pod, the sooner you can figure out how you want to go about achieving those goals, the sooner you start being proactive towards achieving those goals, the happier you be.
That sounds like something I'd say.
Well, you said it to that effect, because you don't want to hold it off and feel miserable later on, right?
Yeah,
and I think routines are important for that because it helps you reach those goals faster.
I guess another part, one thing I wanted to kind of like focus on when it came to the whole routines and everything is that as far as the way you kind of approach developing your routine and doing your best to avoid getting stuck in the rut, right? So like trying to implement changes wherever you can and things like that. For you, like I can think of some major changes that have happened, like I guess in like my day-to-day just kind of living life type thing. What about you? What have been like some significant
like hurdles
or things that you've changed as a result of like your own choice, or like someone else kind of like influenced you to like try something new or do things that are like that are like actually significant, that have actually like had an impact on you? What are some of those things?
To the routines that
So like if you never let's say someone influenced you to start going to the gym like during the day. All right, that's something that you would never do before, blah blah blah. What are some things like that, maybe not in your everyday day to day, but just in your general life? What are some like really cool, interesting changes that have happened in your kind of like daily living, so to speak?
Well, it's not always necessarily positives. I've noticed that, like, I mean, I talk to my friend a lot. I have one friend who I talk to.
A foreign friend?
Yeah. And we I don't know. It's kind of hard to manage between doing what you want to do and you know making other people happy. And I think that's one of the topics I was thinking about talking about, like whole like prioritizing like what you want to do versus making other people happy.
Oh yeah,
I think that's a good topic.
yeah.
And I noticed that when I'm talking to her, uh I mean, I obviously like making her happy, but like at the end of the day, it's like to what detriment, to my own kind of schedule that I have for myself. Because I'll talk to her for long periods of time, but then it kind of screws up my day a little bit because I end up waking up late, having to go to work late.
Well, what time are you waking? What time are you like staying up talking though?
I mean, it could be up to like 12, 1, 2,
What time are you waking up? Because I know you said you do stuff in the morning, like you go to the gym and stuff in the morning. So what time are you waking
It's not
up?
all the time.
Not all the
The
time,
perfect
but like
schedule would be that. But otherwise, I don't
not
know.
right now though, with all this virus craziness going on.
Oh yeah, it's true.
Which is that's intense. Yeah.
Like the other day, I woke up at like I had work at 11. I woke up like 10. and it was like rough. And I
Jeez.
felt so weird because like I was gonna mention this too. It's like we literally talk about like hustling and balance and everything, and the whole time management.
Oh
But,
no.
but I'm not perfect. Even my mom was like, so my mom got upset with me that morning, and she was like, and my mom listens to the podcast, so I apologize for doing that, for getting upset. But she's like, oh, I hate when you do this, and she's like, oh, like she even told me earlier, do you listen to the stuff you say on the pod because you be doing something different? And I don't like being hypocritical. I think that's really important because I try to. I think a lot of people know what's the right thing to do,
Yeah.
but following through with what you say is another thing entirely. And
I don't
even when we're talking about the routine, it's like I don't have like a set routine, but I think talking about it gives us a good goal towards what we're want to achieve.
Yeah, but at the same time too, it's just like I know you mentioned earlier where it's just like I guess on like the third point that we prefaced is that you don't just because you talk about something,
Mm-hmm.
you it doesn't mean you're an expert on it. It's
Yeah,
kind
for sure.
it doesn't mean you're an expert on it. It doesn't mean you're perfect at doing it, at following through with it.
Mhm.
But I think the important thing to do is to do exactly it is to talk about it, because the more you talk about it, the more you kind of like as you kind of go down like this as you snowball down the topic or whatever it is you're talking about, you kind of start to realize, even if you don't outright say it in the moment where it's just like, man, I suck at this. Like you start to realize like, yeah, these are the right things to do. But here's the thing. Here's the thing. I this has come up a few times, I guess, within the last few weeks from me recently, in some situations where it's kind of like I know what the right thing to do is, right? And 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 when you mess up, you don't do exactly what the right thing is, the best thing possible is. You know that you're not doing a great job. You know you screwed up.
Yeah.
But then to hear other people come in and say like, "Hey, you messed up." Like, "Hey, aren't you the one who says blah blah blah?" And it's just like, "Yes, I know
Yeah. Not everybody's
what
like
I've
that
said."
though. But like I don't know, I tend to be pretty critical about myself, and I guess you are too. So like you don't need to hear anybody else telling you because you're already critical of yourself.
Yeah,
You know you
yeah.
screwed up.
It's like
So I don't need to hear it.
it's like
That's why I got upset.
there are
But it's
times
like
where I'm just sitting there exactly where I'm just kind of like, yeah, I suck right now.
yeah.
And then it's just kind of like, hey, aren't you the one who said blah, blah, blah? Or it's just like, all right, like, didn't you say you were supposed to be doing this? And like, but you do this. And it's just like, I know. Why do you think I'm really quiet and kind of pissed off right now?
Yeah.
Because like I'm not pissed off at anyone else but me, because I know that I messed up.
Mhm.
I know that like deep down, like my own personal reservations about me aren't so hot right now.
Yeah.
So it's like I don't really need to hear so here's the trouble though. It's just kind of like if it's a repeat offense, if it's something that you continue to screw up,
Mm.
or it's something that you continue to kind of like be hypocritical about, like with like practice what you preach type thing. If you don't, and if you continue to do the antithesis of what you preach,
Yeah.
then it's a problem.
Yeah.
Then like people should start jumping in. It's just like, hey, if you're not gonna even make an effort to practice what you preach, you got to stop preaching it, or you got to start doing it.
Yeah.
There's no in between, because
Yeah.
what you're doing is bad. Like
Yeah.
that's just straight up bad. If you're making a legitimate effort into practicing what you preach, quote unquote, I think that it's safe to say that leave it alone. Leave that person alone. Maybe once in a while, not in the moment when they screw it up,
Yeah.
but after, be like, hey, it's the approach. And it's just like, it's so easy to like just get under someone's skin after they just screwed up and saying, you screwed up. Like,
Yeah.
okay, most likely they know that,
Yeah.
especially if they show that they're upset, that
Yeah.
if they visibly show that they're upset, or if they visibly show that they're unhappy about something. Like, they probably know that. So you don't really need to say it then. But in the future, like in later context, then you could bring it up and be like, hey, you're always doing this. It's kind of bothersome. It makes me upset or whatever that you are always doing this, but you always say to do that. Can you, like, what's going on here? It's better to have that conversation, but it doesn't mean that just because you're not doing something doesn't mean you don't know about it. Like, just because, like, just because I'm not an audio engineer doesn't mean that I don't know how to work Logic a little bit. Doesn't mean that I can't like edit this thing. I spent like 3-4 days almost straight learning about this audio like editing software that I've never ever looked at before and had no knowledge about. And it's just like I know some about it, but it doesn't mean that all the things I say, all the tips and tricks I can dish out based on what I learned. It doesn't mean that I'm always going to do them because I'm not perfect. So it's probably not a good example, but I I think it's harsh to kind of like kick someone when they're down.
I mean, she didn't even say anything though. She was just like, I don't like. I hate when you, and I didn't even let her finish because I knew. So
what was the context? I know I cut you off a little bit there. What was that context?
Because I was like literally like 40 minutes in, I didn't even like get ready yet for work. So I mean,
wait. So you woke up late for work, right?
Yeah, but I didn't even get ready to like. So she has a right to be upset, but and ultimately it's contrived from the fact that she wants the best for me.
Yeah.
So I understand why you got mad, but it's like I know I screwed up. But at the end of the day, I see the problem. I know how to self-correct it. It's just a matter of setting aside time to do said things and sticking to them.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the whole idea of routines, because I mean you can go after like the simple things, but like at the end of the day, if you want to really accomplish things, you have to make some sacrifices, I think. And um following a routine and sticking to it in the long run, it'll be so much more beneficial than just doing whatever and hoping for the best.
No, I agree. I think there's always opportunity. I think it's always necessary to be cautious of exactly what you decide to do based on like your overall like mentality of approaching the day-to-day routine, the day-to-day like living. Again, it can get really out of hand. Like any choice, any action is on a spectrum. It's either radical, you can go radical, go off the wall, off the charts, or you could just not do it at all. Just the 0 ends, the 100 end. All right. But I think it's just like anything. It's really important to maintain that balance because if you overshoot, if you crank it up all the way, if you hit it too low, it doesn't come out nice. All right. And it doesn't come out the best that it could. And maintaining that balance is the most difficult thing. And it's something, it's like the whole, like how you mentioned earlier, the whole like everyday life. And then kind of like our slogan, for at least the foreseeable future. It's kind of the way I think about it. And at the end of each conversation that we have, whether it's on record or not, it always comes down to just like the balance of everything in your life.
Yeah.
And philosophies, the yin and yang, and all this stuff about it. There's so much stuff about like the balance, finding balance in your life, finding like the flow and everything like that. But there's definitely some merit, the baseline merit of it being incredibly difficult to maintain consistently, and on top of that, um, you know, finding your best balance, finding your individualized balance, because like you had, I know you guys can't see on if you're watching the video version of it. Maybe we can put this up in the video version, but you had like 6 tips to developing a routine. I saw on your notes on your laptop over here.
Yeah.
That'd be probably something good to like throw up with the link or whatever in the video. But like I'm looking at that and I'm like, okay, that's great. But is that going to help me find my own personalized balance when it comes to not just routines, but like also the rest of like how I kind of live and how I approach different facets in my life? And, you know, maintaining that mentality and maintaining the work as part and following through with the work involved with maintaining the routine, maintaining the mentality of balance. That's, to me, that's very difficult because especially if you're trying to venture out a little bit more, you're trying to implement change as you get older and things like that, it becomes increasingly difficult because you get really comfortable. And I think one of the most dangerous things that can happen is getting too comfortable with how with your present life. So,
But I think it's important to be realistic with yourself when you're making these routines, right?
no,
And
absolutely.
that's actually number 6 on this tip thing that you mentioned. Like, track your habits to understand yourself better, because you can't make a routine like it's like, oh well, let me just start training for a marathon. He's never ran in your life.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
I'm gonna train for 6 hours. It's like, there's no way.
You're not gonna make it.
There's
very
no
far.
way. You start like maybe for 5 minutes, you run around the block, you probably die, but like that's how you start off. You eventually build it up. But that's an important thing too. You have to understand yourself in order to make these routines.
Yeah,
And the whole idea of being comfortable, I guess, the whole thing you have to take in perspective. Be a little uncomfortable for a little bit, so that way you can push yourself to the routine you want to achieve said goals.
I guess so that way it doesn't get misconstrued. What I specifically mean when I say like getting too comfortable can be pretty dangerous is when you get too comfortable in your routines, in your habits, and they're not great. So like getting too comfortable with bad habits, with a lackluster routine, that can be dangerous. It can be detrimental.
I feel like that's where I'm at right now.
Many different things. It can be detrimental to your interpersonal relationships, your internal, your like relationship with yourself,
exactly,
in every form. Your external, like your health, the way you know everything. You know, and I think that fighting that is just as it's as easy as saying like, got to get rid of the bad habit. Stop biting. It's as easy as saying like telling someone like stop biting your nails. Just put some lemon juice on it, and it's too sour. It's just kind of like
said than done.
It's kind of like it's really easy to say. It's so damn difficult to do, and understanding that it's difficult and everything is a great thing. Getting through that denial of like I don't need to change my stuff, especially if they're not the best. If it's bad habits, bad routines, or whatever, it's like, oh, like I'm comfortable with the way things are, or whatever. A little change is always good. Adapting to new circumstances, adapting to new things in life, technologies, foods, new friends, new people, things like that. It's always great. I feel like you're only going to benefit.
I feel like when you get older, that stuff gets harder.
It gets more difficult.
I think that's why it's better to correct those things when you're younger, right? Because
exactly.
The whole thing about teaching an old dog new tricks or something like that.
Yeah.
Old habits
die hard.
Yeah, kind of thing.
Or is it bad habits die hard? I don't remember.
Both works.
It's both really. But I guess the overall point I'm trying to make here is that killing a bad habit or killing multiple bad habits that ultimately define your day-to-day, your current day-to-day, is incredibly difficult. But doing your best to put your foot forward in tackling that is obviously the first step on a good, in a good direction into correcting these things. In addition to that, if you have friends or family, whoever, people that you're close with that you see aren't doing so hot, it's just kind of like, what's your approach? The approach can't be to yell at people. You can't come in and say like, you never do this. You suck. Like it's because even if you don't say you suck, oh, you're a terrible person, blah blah blah. That's kind of how it's perceived. When you get yelled at, you don't feel great about yourself. But it's just kind of like, are there times where you do need to get spoken to sternly? Yeah, definitely. But, if you did something wrong, maybe if you broke the law, if you got arrested or something, I can understand. But if you, I don't know, wake up late for work, more often than you should, it's just kind of like, all right, is yelling really going to help that situation and be like in that present time? No, it's just going to increase the tension, increase the stress, and cause resentment. And so what's the approach? The approach is let that thing play out. Let the person deal with, the consequences of their actions, the consequences of their bad habits and their lackluster routine overall. And then when the time comes, when things are settled down, then you sit down and you speak with them like, hey, I've noticed this. It's not great. I know you know that. The key thing though is like, I know you know this. but like I'm like, I implore you to try even harder.
Mm.
It's still not going to be great to hear that. It's still
Yeah.
not, because everyone, it's like, these are common sense things. I don't need people telling me. But even though they're common sense things and you don't need people telling you, I know I have trouble with this specifically. I'll call myself out right now. I don't like hearing it when people tell me like common sense things. It's like, I know that.
Yeah.
I know I screwed up. I
Yeah.
know this is a common, like, I know that. But I always, but if it's the aftermath, like, give it some time, let things simmer down,
Mm.
and I hear it, then I'm like, you're right. I screwed up. I got to do better next time.
Yeah.
It's a lot better than hearing it in the moment.
Oh, for sure.
But this is advice for everyone, and not just specifically for this, but it's just like, not only like you working on yourself, but also you looking out for the people around you.
Mm.
If you notice that there are things in your routines in your day to day that are really great, that like you find really helpful, introduce it, but in a way that's non-combative. Don't say like, you're not, you got to be like so and so, they're on their stuff, man, like you don't do anything. Like, no, you got to be like, hey, why don't you, like, why don't you try some of these things I've noticed from so and so that this has really helped them. It's things like that where, again, it's funny that I'm saying this, but a lot of the things that we talk about here I feel like are pretty common sense. And my own personal reservations, I think like, we're talking about a lot of common sense things, Jeff. Like, why are we even recording this? Like, I'm sure people know about all this stuff, and I'm sure everyone does. But hearing it from even more people outside of your regular circle, it's kind of like, it kind of helps to kind of kick that into a higher gear of something that's you can put into action, right? So, for as many good things that are out there, and as many times as you hear them, it never hurts to hear it again. All right.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how I think about everything with respect to, again, what we're doing here, in addition to, and specifically how this gets grounded into our what we're talking about, like the routines and the habits of, like, that define those routines. I think it's just really important to maintain that sensibility and that awareness to things that we've been talking about today so far.
Yeah.
I always feel like I say the same, like I always end off with the same point, is just that you just got to listen. You got to listen, and you got to be prepared to take action. And it's not easy. It's really freaking difficult sometimes, but understand that if you get approached in a good way, understand that people really do have it in their best interest.
Yeah, it's really important. Actually, the whole, taking criticism, especially if it's good, constructive, and that's the
criticism sucks no matter what.
Yeah. But with the best intentions, it's like, take it with a good stride. Is that the right?
Yeah. Yeah, no, definitely.
Because it's only for your benefit, and if they care, obviously they're that's why they'd go out of their way to say that. Otherwise, if they didn't care, why would they say anything at all? Kind of.
Mm-hmm.
So I get it, and I think that's good to have people tell you that, because it only helps to refine those bad habits and make it better, reform it. So, yeah.
But yeah, no, so, I don't know. I guess I just want to kind of end off with something here. It's kind of a little bit off topic, but how do you feel about your family listening to this podcast? I don't want to spend a lot of time on it. I just want to end on this point. But like, I don't know. How do you feel about that? Because I know you mentioned like your mom listens to the podcast and everything. And thanks, Mrs. Cherian, for listening to the podcast and being one of the first supporters. We do appreciate that.
Yeah. It's definitely it's really, every time I ask them, like, they bring it up to me. They're like, "Oh, like, how's the podcast coming along?" And I'm like, "Oh, we listen to it." I'm always shocked because I'm surprised
that they even care to listen to it.
Yeah, because like, I don't know, like we're talking for at least, like, this has been gone for an hour now. Like, they just gave up an hour of their time to hear me talk about something I'm not even entirely sure about. Right? It's like, it just goes to show how supportive they are. Like, I don't know if I'm the most supportive family member out there, but like they care enough and find it somewhat interesting. But I think it's definitely goes because they care about me, and I really appreciate that. How do I feel about them listening to it? I feel blessed.
Mm-hmm.
I feel really blessed that they take their time out to listen, and it it means a lot to me. I mean, I don't um I think we're still trying to figure out like the best content for the pod, but the fact that they're even you know going out of the way to listen, this is really cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So
no, I think yeah, I think it's actually pretty interesting. I don't know. I've always felt for me, it's kind of like I know one of my sisters listens to it again, like one of the earliest supporters of the podcast, and that's pretty is really
Ruth,
cool.
right?
Huh?
Ruth?
Yeah, my sister Ruth.
It's like
At,
she's supported us on Patreon.
yeah, she's
Like, how cool is that?
I guess she should.
Shout out to Ruth. That's what you get for $5 a month. Get a shout out.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, shout out to my sister Ruth for supporting us on Patreon. Yeah, we have a Patreon. If you guys if you guys don't listen to the end, well, this is still the end, but in our outro we have it there. But we have a link in the description for a Patreon. We should pitch that. We should plug this a lot earlier in the podcast. We have a Patreon up. It's not like it's bare bones right now, but we're definitely going to be adding I guess more incentives for the supporting of the podcast and everything like that. We're really trying to take this up to kind of like the next level and however far as we can go. And that's definitely to come. And we're working out I guess working out the details for that there. Whether it's like shout outs, tags and photos, things like that, or physical things like stickers. We keep thinking about stickers. That's why we have a logo.
Mhm.
Always had the intention of doing like little vinyl decal stickers, maybe some other merch, maybe pins and badges and all that stuff. But poster maybe, I don't know, that'd be cool. Print out a poster with like the artwork or something. That'd be funny. But definitely things to come in the future for that, not just on Patreon, but like possibly website in the future too. Lots of things in the works here, but shout out to Ruth again, and I guess that's a really good point there.
Yeah, how do you feel about it?
I would it's always, for me, it's always been awkward because like I'm the youngest out of the siblings, and it's just my sibling. I'm not close with any cousins or anything. So hearing Ruth say like, "Oh, I listened to it," and it's kind of like, "Do you really want to listen to your like little brother like talk for an hour with his with his boy?" Like it's just kind of like, "What? You want to listen to like two 23-year-olds talk about random stuff?" Like but in the effort of not downplaying what we're doing here, I'm really it makes me happy that she does. And I've always like my personal reservations have always been like, family, obviously they're gonna support you, but it's not true. Like it's not all family is always gonna support like the things that you're doing. And a lot of times, especially the creative things like this, or if you're a YouTube content creator specifically, other things, artists, whatever, photographer, how could I forget? So there's a lot of times where family just is not there, and like all you've got is like your friends. And so I'm like how you said, I kind of have said it better myself, like I'm just really blessed, and always reflecting on that, like feel really blessed to be able to have family and friends who are willing to like sit, listen, take the time in as part of whatever it is, their daily routines or what have you, weekly routines, to listen to us talk. And couldn't be happier. And we really hope that the content we're putting out is can get your attention, is entertaining, it's fun, but it's also at the same time, like how you mentioned, it's something that you can get takeaways from, whether it's in your life lessons or what have you. If you could take something away from it, we feel like we've definitely done above and beyond for like with our job here. So no, really appreciate all that. Thank you again, Ruth. Shout out again. But
and thank you,
and thank you everyone else for listening and supporting. And just a quick point before we totally head out. Like how you mentioned earlier, Jeff, we're definitely still working out some kinks and when it comes to the content that we want to talk about and things like that. So we're gonna try some new things in the following weeks. We may may have like a weird random pod about something or whatever. So bear with us as we kind of continue season 2 and we try out a couple new things, nothing crazy. But we hope you keep listening. And if you don't like the stuff, let us know. If you really enjoy what we're doing right now, please let us know on Instagram, a DM, or on the post, a comment or something. We request that whoever actively goes on our Instagram and listens, comments on the future post or whatever, what are their thoughts on the podcast for season 2 so far as a whole? Do you like it? Is it boring? Do you want something different? If you have different ideas or whatever, please let us know. We actually really kind of thrive off of getting that kind of information. It really helps us find better direction. But that's really all I wanted to kind of wrap up there and say. But as always, thanks for listening, guys. And good stuff as always, man. It's always a pleasure talking with you.